Good evening, listeners, and welcome along to Across the Line here on Tipp FM with myself, Paul Carroll. On this Friday, the 23rd of January 2026, we have a big show lined up over the course of the next hour. We're going to be looking ahead to the weekend of sport in Tipperary, and what a weekend it is this weekend. We have the county senior hurlers back in action in the National Hurling League tomorrow evening at 7 o'clock against Galway. Sunday, we have the footballers in action over in London. That's at 1 o'clock on Sunday. The ladies footballers begin their National League campaign as well. So we're going to be looking ahead to all that. We'll be talking to Ken Hogan in just a few moments' time. Talk all things hurling with the league panel announced earlier in the week and the teams for the match tomorrow also announced. We're going to be catching up with Niall Fitzgerald, the Tipperary senior football manager, ahead of that trip to London. And David Power, the ladies football manager, will also join us on the show. And he's also involved with High School Clonmel, who are in the Kearney-Vurry semi-final tomorrow afternoon. We'll talk a little bit about that as well. And as always, Barry Drake will give us the rundown on everything that's happening in the world of Greyhound racing to end the show as well. So tomorrow's game, 7 o'clock against Galway. That is live here on Tipp FM with thanks to Casey Tiles and Wooden Floors in Care. And then on Sunday, we will have live commentary of Tipperary versus London over in McGovern Park in London. And our commentary of that game is with thanks to John Kennedy Motors in Clonmel. Right, let's get into it. Let's start with the hurlers. They take on Galway in FBD Semple Stadium, 7 o'clock throw-in time on Saturday evening. And who's going to be joining me on commentary is the man who's joining me now on the phone lines. It is Ken Hogan. Ken, how are you getting on?
Not too bad, Paul. Looking forward to a new year.
Yeah, new year and a new National Hurling League to look forward to. A new Tipp panel as well to talk through. Lots to talk about before we even start with this game against Galway tomorrow. We'll start with the panel that was named. 43 players on it. A couple of injuries there to Alan Tynan and Aaron Morgan. But all in all, a very kind of fresh feel to the panel in terms of, I think there's 13 new faces that weren't there last year that are involved this year. So it's a nice kind of new look to it.
Yeah, new look to it, obviously, new year, and obviously the management have looked throughout the year, 43 players, and of course, with unfortunately, Alan Tynan, who was flying it there before Christmas, receiving the serious shoulder injury, but please God, he'll be back fighting fit for championship, and Aaron Morgan as well, but huge competition there, huge competition for places, huge competition even to make the 26, so all in all, I suppose that's what it's all about. Everybody has to fight for their place and ultimately produce the goods on the day.
Yeah, and it's kind of important as well. There's a good 8 or 9, or I'd say even more, maybe 10 of the under-20s from last year that are involved with the senior panel now. A few of those, the likes of Darragh McCarthy, Sam O'Farrell, Oisin O'Donoghue, Conor Martin were there last year, Paddy McCormick as well. But the likes of Joe Egan, Cathal English, Adam Daly, even Cathal O'Reilly, who we'll get to as well, these lads being involved, it's kind of very important to get those lads integrated into a senior squad.
Yeah, well, they're there because they've earned that right with their performances, Tis always not just to win an under-20 All-Ireland, but to win an under-20 All-Ireland down in Kilkenny's backyard was exceptional. It was a great year for the 20s. But I'm sure Liam Cahill and his group will be, emphasising the fact that 2026 is a new year. It's all to play for now. And you can't beat fresh blood,
Yeah, for sure. And looking at the team that was named, Cathal O'Reilly is named at number 2 and at number 15 is Jack Leamy. Those are 2 debuts for the Tipp senior hurlers, and we've 10 of the lads who started in the All-Ireland final starting tomorrow evening as well. Just a word on Cathal O'Reilly, what a rise he's had the last couple of years, minor winning captain in 2024, and here we are in the first month of 2026 and he's making his senior debut in a National Hurling League game.
Yeah, and of course a very successful colleges hurler as well. Holy Cross, really on a crest of a wave. They've annexed all the underage championships. I'm sure everybody is expecting Holy Cross to come, strongly, obviously, in the county club championship later on the year. But for Cathal, of course, this is a huge learning curve. A young fella like him getting in there. But, an experienced backline beside him. He'll be chomping at the bit, and of course playing in his favourite pitch in Semple Stadium is a huge fill-up as well. So I think overall Cathal has proved his pedigree, and now it's time to get into the big time. So from his perspective, a huge opportunity.
Yeah, and he's kind of as you said, an experienced defence around him in terms of, well, Robert Doyle is only 1 year under his belt, but it was a big experience for him last year. Michael Breen there as well, but also the fact there's two other Holy Cross lads in front of him in Brian O'Mara and Joe Caesar, and with no Ronan Maher for the first kind of half of the league or so as he recovers from off-season surgery, there's probably a position in that half-back line up for grabs over the next 3 or 4 games.
Yeah, of course there is, and obviously Ronan, a huge player. Brian O'Mara slotting into his probably favourite, Fitzgibbon number 6 spot with Holy Cross as well, so that's a seamless transition. But, again, these league games, Tipp went down to play Galway last year with a number of new players, and that's where we first saw the Andrew Ormonds and co, and they produced the goods. And again, playing Galway on Saturday night, it gives these guys a great opportunity. You get the jersey, you cherish it, and you try to hang on to it as much as possible.
Yeah, and the forward line for Tipperary tomorrow: Jake Morris, Andrew Ormond, Sam O'Farrell, Darren McCarthy, Oisín O'Donoghue, and Jack Leamy. I'd say maybe Jake or Andrew Ormond is probably the oldest, and I'd say Andrew's only 26 or 27. So it's a young enough forward line with 3 lads from the under-20 team last year. Jack Leamy coming in to make a debut, kind of prominent on the Tipp underage teams in recent years, but has been really good with Golden in the last kind of 12-18 months as well, so he's getting his chance.
Yeah, and it was notable, obviously the Tipperary management, you could see him at all the intermediate club games, the Premier Intermediate Club games, just as well as the senior matches. So Jack Leamy has been on the radar, and has been scoring prolifically for Golden, and has been an exceptional minor and under-21 for under-20 player for Tipp. So from that perspective, delighted to see he's getting his opportunity. He's earned it. He was in last year and probably has come back a stronger, more mature, tougher player, and I suppose at that level that's how you survive. You have the half forward line of the All-Ireland winning team last year, which is a great nesting ground for them from the point of view of setting up opportunities and scores. And Jake Morris proved himself such a selfless player last year, even playing through injury, and sacrificed his scoring ability really to win so much hard ball for Tipperary and get vital scores, and put his hand up when Tipperary really needed him. So from that perspective, last year was a wonderful year for those 3 lads in the half forward line. But I suppose Darren McCarthy, playing with UL as well, it's a busy schedule for him. I didn't expect to see him Saturday night, but I suppose when you want to play and when you're playing at top level and playing at peak condition, and of course his free taking ability as well, second to none. So from that perspective, great to see him in there. I think it's, Oisín, last year people are still talking about those goals, but we must remember as well, he played well with his club. He played well at under 20 level, and it wasn't just a flash in the pan, and the pedigree's there, the pedigree's there with him, and I'm sure he's delighted to get the number 14 jersey.
Yeah, and he's been crashing in the goals as well in the Fitzgibbon Cup. Likewise, it's an exciting bench for Tipperary in the fact that you have 5 or 6 lads that, if they are introduced, will be making their debuts. Adam Daly, Cathal English, Paddy McCormack, yet to make a debut for the Tipp seniors, although he was part of the panel for the All-Ireland final last year. Josh Keller played against Wexford in the league last year, but he's looking to maybe push on this year. Conor Martin and number 26, Stephen Tobin, who was, like Cathal O'Reilly, on that minor team that won with the 13 men in Nolan Park. What are we, about 18 months since that? So, very, very young, and exciting times for all in the Carrick Swan Club, I'm sure, to see such a young kind of key star forward for them amongst the Tipperary senior panel.
Yeah, great fillip for the people of Carrick, who are wonderful Tipperary supporters, to see Stephen in there. But I suppose more importantly, in the league situation, when you get those games, you want to give people game time, and I'm sure Tipperary will utilise their bench tomorrow night. We'll see 4 or 5 of these lads getting opportunities. Obviously, fellas are not at peak condition yet, so asking players to play 70 minutes in tough conditions at the moment, Peter, Paul, from that perspective, I think everybody that's there will be chomping at the bit. They'll be looking for the management to give them the back, and they'll be flying in to get an opportunity to play with Tipperary. So Galway will come up, Paul. You know, they will have expectations as well as Micheál O'Donoghue's. The honeymoon period is over for Micheál. He will come up with expectations as well. He's picked a good young team. Jason Rabbit, Aaron Nyland, they're all top. Rory, they're all top quality underage stars with minor All-Ireland medals. So from that perspective, they have pedigree as well. So Galway have, I suppose, are sore. You know, they have. Tipp did beat him in the All-Ireland quarter-final, which set us up for the year. But from that perspective, they'll be able to prove a point as well tomorrow night.
And what do you think kind of the talk would have been in amongst the Tipperary panel coming into this league campaign? How do they approach it? You know, we're coming into this year in a different place than where we were this time 12 months ago in terms of maybe feeling around the squad, feeling around the county. But how do you think Liam Cahill kind of navigates that? Because that's all new for him and his management team as well, dealing with a group of players that are in a different place mentally than where they were last year.
Exactly. But I think Liam now, you know, he'll want to park 2025. You know, it was a huge year for everybody and a wonderful year for Tipperary hurling, but he'll want to park that as well. And the National League is one thing, it brings up a lot of, you know, of surprises as well, and it brings up a lot, maybe even some doubts with players. So, again, he'll be on finding out process. How are these guys going to react under different circumstances, under pressures? And I think the National League, he said it after last year's National League final against Cork down in Park Cave, he said, we got a lot out of the league, and he meant it. And as it transpired, Tipperary did get a lot out of the league last year, and I'm sure he'll be looking for something similar this time.
Yeah, and it's kind of been a trend we've nearly seen in the last few years. You know, of course, Tipp Cork in the league final last year ended up being the two teams in the All-Ireland final as well. So it's an important thing for all counties, really. But it's a busy 3 weeks for Tipp. That's something that has to be navigated as well. You know, it's Galway tomorrow, Sunday week, then it's Offaly, and then the following weekend it's away to Cork. So it's a busy kind of 3 week period coming up, and an important 3 week period to get the year off on the right foot for Tipp.
Correct. You know, and you're playing your home pitch as well, Simple Stadium. You want to get a win because you'll go to Tullamore then against Offaly, who are obviously a neighbouring county, and then you head for Páirc Uí Chaoimh. So from that perspective, you try and pick up points where they're available, and I'm sure Liam will be emphasising that to his troops tomorrow night. Performance is one thing, but winning those 2 points is another, and I think that's the first goal they will have, to collect 2 points tomorrow night and continue in the same vein throughout the league, Paul.
And do you have a kind of overall feeling, you know, as you head down to, when you're driving down to Thurles tomorrow, what way do you kind of see this playing out?
Yeah, I can see it playing out. I can see him trying a lot of players, or looking at a lot of players. Obviously he will be trying to get results, because it's unforgiving, the National League. You lose points and then you slip down the table. So from that perspective, he will be picking strong teams, but also the nucleus of those under-20s will be seeing them in action from that perspective as well. So he needs to look at all those players. He needs to see what they're about, and above all, I suppose, he needs to put out a strong team. And I think with that panel, you know, picking from almost 40 players, that he will be capable of, obviously, you know, transitioning players, bringing players back, bringing players in, and still giving everybody an opportunity to stake a claim for a place for championship. Yeah,
and just finally, one player I am kind of a bit just very unfortunate with the timing of the injury, I think, was Brian McGrath, an ankle ligament injury, I think, suffered against Kerry. So not sure exactly how long he's going to be out of action for, but you kind of felt that maybe with that Ronan Maher injury, to miss the early part of the league would have been a big chance for someone like Brian McGrath to kind of stake his claim in that half back line. So it's just, injuries are something that happens, but he's just fallen foul to a very unfortunately timed one.
Yeah, and such a busy schedule for Brian, you know, as a dual player with his club as well. But of course, mad for an opportunity to get in. You know, we hear so much about John and obviously Noel, and they've earned that right. And Brian himself, an exceptional club player, probably the most effective club player in that Loughmore setup. So I think Brian will be patient. I think he's a very mature guy, great head on his shoulders, and I think he will grasp the opportunity when that arises, probably later on in the league campaign, please God.
Yeah, hopefully he's back to full fitness as soon as possible. Well, Ken, it's all rolling around again. The new year is upon us, and we look forward to seeing you down in Semple Stadium tomorrow as we kick off 2026 following the Tipperary Senior Hurlers.
Looking forward to it, Paul.
Right, let's take a quick ad break. Back with more after these. And you're very welcome back to part 2 of Across the Line here on Tipp FM with myself, Paul Carroll, on this Friday, the 23rd of January 2026. Now let's switch our attention to the big ball as the Tipperary senior footballers are back in action this Sunday at 1 o'clock in McGovern Park in Ruislip. They are away to London, and that game will be live here on Tipp FM with thanks to John Kennedy Motors in Clonmel. Well, earlier in the week I sat down and caught up with Niall Fitzgerald, the Tipperary senior football manager, to look ahead to this game, and we also began talking about the panel which was named during the week, which is a particularly young Tipperary senior football panel.
Yeah, Paul, we have, I think it's 21 players, 21 and under, so it is a young squad, but I suppose we want to build and try and get experience into these players, and we're hoping that this year will really help their development and push on for the future.
Yeah, and some exciting names that people will be familiar with from the under-20s the last couple of years, the likes of Hogan, of course, who featured last year late in the campaign, but Paddy O'Keefe, Killian Butler, Charlie King, a lot of these younger lads, even Oran Jones, who wasn't in the panel last year but was a very prominent under-20 2 years ago. So a lot of new faces, and I'd imagine there's a kind of good buzz around the squad with all these new players coming in, and maybe that sense of excitement of being in around a senior inter-county squad.
Yeah, there's no doubt there is talent coming through, the underage, and there's been a lot of good work done underage with development squads up along, and minors, and then that bit of experience with the under 20. So that is added to the panel. I suppose maybe the few of the senior lads, from speaking to them, they've noticed that these lads have added value, and they've maybe increased the buzz in training and increased the pace of some of our training games, and like they've really taken to it, and they've embraced it, and they've embraced the lifestyle, and we're really hoping, and we see it already. Senior players, they're trying to, they're showing the lads, I suppose, the right way to do things, and their attitude, the senior lads' attitude has been excellent, towards them, and they've been, very supportive, and you can see that the whole time, and it's great to see it.
Yeah, and with all these kind of younger lads as well, and it's a good sign for Tipperary football, but maybe a difficult one when you're part of the management team, as a lot of lads are involved with colleges teams, and it's this time of the year where the Fitzgibbon Cup and the Sigerson Cup is in full flow, so you've a few lads kind of balancing those two things at the moment. So how's that been, kind of trying to keep all that together?
Yeah, it's challenging. I suppose we have to look at the positives as well. I mean, there's I think it's 6 players with David Power's UL squad, and it's a long time since Tipperary has had 6 players on a Sigerson panel, and a strong Sigerson panel, that are going to be pushing hard to try and win out the Sigerson, and they won the Sigerson League. So David's doing good work there, and that, it's a positive that we're producing players at that level, and that quality.
Yeah,
so while there's challenges to it, we have to take the positives from it as well, and we'll manage those players.
Yeah, and for some of the quote-unquote older lads, Paddy Feehan maybe being one of them now, is named as the captain of the team, still a young man, of course, but talk to me about kind of selecting Paddy as the captain of the Tipp footballers this year.
Yeah, so I suppose, look, the captaincy is it's a title, but there's a lot of leaders in that dressing room, Paddy stood out early, he was really leading things and setting standards, but you have other guys. Obviously Stephen is a huge leader. Stephen O'Brien's a huge leader in the group, and he'll always be a leader. Sean O'Connor has really adopted a leadership role, but there's other lads there. Luke Holland and Jack Harney are 2 fantastic leaders in the group, as well, and there's others I could name a good few. Their attitude is brilliant. The likes of Mark Russell, Emmett Maloney, and they'll call out lads and they'll call out standards, and I mean, I suppose I can have no complaints in terms of the effort that the players have given in training so far. It's really been excellent, and those players I've mentioned, are amongst the players that are driving that on.
Yeah, and I think the last time I spoke to you was after the Kerry game and the Champions Under Lights event in Feathertown Park before Christmas, and even back then we were saying it was only 5 or 6 weeks to go until the league, and that's often not long going, especially when you're involved in a team and probably losing a bit of time around Christmas and things like that. So here we are, the week of the league. How do you feel the kind of last couple of weeks have gone? I'd imagine they've flown by, but do you feel like you are where you want to be in terms of being ready to get going for the league?
Yeah, like it's difficult to tell. You don't really know until you go out and play that first league game. As I said, we have a lot of inexperienced players. And we're trying to give the message to the lads that winning National League games is hard. We've London in our first game, and I suppose, you'd have to look at their team and say that it's a more experienced team playing National League than ours, and we haven't beaten London the last 2 years, so it's going to be challenging. Maybe in terms of preparation, one thing that hampered us a small bit, we played McGrath Cup on the 2nd and the 6th of January, and then it was hard to get another game in. Then we had one organised, but that team ended up in the O'Byrne Cup final. So with the FBD and the O'Byrne Cup, their games ran later in January, and it was very difficult to get games. So you would have liked maybe another game to have an idea where you're at, But in terms of preparation, training has gone really well. We feel that there's progress has been made, and that we're the new players are settling into it, and we're hoping to hit the ground running on Sunday.
And as we go into this league campaign, what are your overall arching targets, or what are you targeting for the league this year?
Yeah, I suppose a realistic target, would for us to be going into the last weekend with something to play for, which is something that we haven't done the last few years, and we want to be really competitive. Our overall target is to get promoted, but obviously, and that's every team's target in Division 4. But we're conscious of where we are as well, and where we have been the last few years, and the fact that we are going to be a young team, so that's going to bring its own challenges. But we feel that a realistic goal is to get to that last weekend and be in the hunt.
Yeah, and it starts this weekend, this Sunday, over in McGovern Park in Ruislip, and it's a tricky enough first day out for you all, I suppose. Away to London is always, it's unique in a way, and it's novel in a way, but it's worth 2 points like every other game. So in terms of logistically, what's the plan this weekend? Do you head over a day before, the day of the game, or how are you kind of navigating that side of things?
Yeah, we'll head over the day before, and we won't be hanging around too long. We'll go over Saturday evening, and it'll be a business like trip.
Yeah,
and have a team meeting, relax for a small bit in bed, ready to go Sunday morning. That's the plan.
Yeah, I suppose it's an earlier start as well. It was originally 2 o'clock throw-in time, but now 1 o'clock. So 1 o'clock on Sunday. And as you mentioned, we have struggled against London in the last 2 appearances. There was that last kick of the game against London in Semple Stadium last year, and the year before over in McGovern Park it was a draw game as well. So I'd imagine this is probably going to be something similar, a tight game, you'd imagine.
Yeah, as I said, there aren't too many easy wins in the National League, especially in Division 4. Every team there feels that they're capable of taking points off any given team. So it's every game is is a challenge, and a big challenge for us is try and bring consistency into our performances, from week to week, and hopefully, that consistency of effort and of that'll be enough to pick up enough points to put you in a position where you're competing.
Well, we're certainly hoping it gets off to a good start on Sunday. I'll be talking to you after the match, and hopefully we're both happy after that game over in McGovern Park on Sunday afternoon. So, Niall Fitzgerald, very best of luck to you, and we'll talk to you on Sunday.
That's great. Thanks, Paul.
And that was my conversation with Niall Fitzgerald, the Tipperary senior football manager, ahead of that game on Sunday at 1 p.m. over in London against London. And a reminder, that game is live here on Tipp FM on Sunday afternoon, all with thanks to John Kennedy Motors in Clonmel. Let's step away. Let's take another quick ad break. We'll be speaking to David Power, and we'll also be talking Greyhound racing after these. And you're very welcome back to Across the Line here on Tipp FM with myself, Paul Carroll, on this Friday, the 23rd of January 2026. Now, the Tipperary ladies footballers get their league campaign underway on Sunday at 2 o'clock in Enniscorthy, going up against Wexford. And to talk about that and much more, I'm delighted to say I'm joined on the line by Tipperary senior ladies football manager David Power. David, you're very welcome back to the show.
Thanks very much, Paul.
Yeah, great to be talking to you, David. You've a busy couple of days ahead. Of course, Tipp Ladies football manager, getting the league campaign underway on Sunday at 2 o'clock in Enniscorthy. Before we talk about the game in particular, the panel was released this week, so I suppose that's maybe step one when you're a new manager is picking a panel.
Yeah, absolutely. Look, I suppose last October, November, we looked at around 120 girls. We played. We kind of called it the Comida Cup Challenge. We had 4 teams, and we did a round robin, and we had finals. And so, I suppose we tried to explore every part of the county, and we got a great reaction. And then bit by bit, then we were getting through our panel, and we now have a panel of 34, and we also have a senior development panel there behind us. And I suppose, as I've said to the girls, look, the senior panel, it's never closed off. But look, we have a league panel of 34. They've worked really, really hard over the last 2 months, and just looking forward to it now.
Yeah, and looking through, a lot of familiar names, a lot of new names as well. One omission, of course, is Aisling Maloney, All-Star nominee from last year. I'd imagine it's an Australia commitments kind of thing.
Unfortunately, it is, and look, I spoke to Aisling, and just unfortunate that she just can't commit this year because of the Australia rules, and we just have to get on with it. And to be fair to the group, they've worked really, really hard, and and I think there's a lot of exciting players there in the group, and I just hope for their sakes now they can really show it to the people there on Sunday. Yeah,
and the captain selection was Anna Rose Kennedy, of course, really experienced player with the group as well.
Yeah, she's a natural leader, and look, I'm very fortunate to have a lot of leaders there. But look, she's been fantastic. Look, you've the likes of Lauren Fitzpatrick, Maria Curley. You have a lot of really good leaders there. The vice captain, Laura Morrissey, she's a fantastic. So we're very fortunate that we have a lot of good leaders. We have a lot of good young girls that are going to be leaders as well. But Anna Rose has been. I suppose, look, she leads by the way she plays, and I think anytime she speaks, the girls really, really listen. And so look, really looking forward to her. I suppose her big game is that she gets a good run at things as well. She's been unfortunate with different injuries, and so hopefully now that she can get a good run at playing as well.
Yeah, for sure. And when you come in as new manager, it's always, I'd say, time, it nearly feels like it's sped up because you're probably trying to get through so much things and picking a panel and things like that. But it's also rule changes coming in ladies football as well. So similar to the men's game last year, those rules are being trialled in the league this year. So how has that kind of been?
It's been, look, I suppose we played against Waterford, we played against Cork, we played against Kildare. And look, it's going to be very trial and error. But look, there's some really good rules. I think the 3 up, the tap and go is really, really good. So look, I think everyone will have to be patient with each other, and I hope referees are patient as well. And look, I suppose the last thing that we want seen is that games are going to be, because of different decisions, that they're going to be won or lost. And so I think everyone just has to stay calm. But I think ultimately, like the men's football, these rules can only improve the ladies' game as well.
Yeah, and I'd imagine the group in there at the minute is fairly ambitious. Got to an All-Ireland quarter-final last year. Were finished third in Division 2 last year behind really good Galway and Cork teams. So this year, I'd imagine there's kind of high ambitions in the group for the league.
There is there is, and I suppose the way we're kind of looking at it is we're playing Wexford down in Enniscorthy, and the one thing I noticed about ladies football, to get away wins is tough. They got promoted from Division 3 last year, and so look, they're after losing their manager, Lizzie Kent, who would be a big loss, and they've a guy there from Kildare over him now. So look, I suppose he's looking at different things as well. But I suppose the way I look at it from us, we've got 3 matches now over the next 14 days, and if we want to be really challenging for league promotion, we need to be winning two out of the first 3 games. I suppose you have Mayo, you have Tyrone, you have Donegal, you have Monaghan, you have Cavan. There's probably a lot of teams are hoping to get promoted, but I think if we can get off to a good start on Sunday, that could set us up hopefully for a good league.
Yeah, fingers crossed. It's always exciting talking at the start of a league. It's all ahead of the Tipp team in the next coming weeks for sure. But it's also a busy weekend for you in terms of you're involved with High School Clonmel, and they have a massive Kearney-Vurry, the Munster senior football semi-final against Pres Milltown. This is on Kilmallock at 12:30 tomorrow. It's probably great to be involved with that group, and it's an exciting group and a massive opportunity here tomorrow.
It's huge. I suppose Paddy O'Gorman and Kieran Barrett asked me just to help with the coaching there last September. And look, I'm working in Clonmel, and that I can do for Tipperary football, I'll always try. And I have to say, the high school have a very, very special group there. A lot of good players, and I certainly can't forget all the Nair players that are there. I'd be shocked. There's a couple of good Waterford players there as well. But there's a very good team, a very good panel there. We had a great result against Clonakilty, and they've trained really hard now going into tomorrow's game. And I suppose everyone is kind of saying, look, it's not St. Brendan's we're playing, or it's not. But Milltown are a good team. I've looked at them. They have a lot of good players. They have 5 county minors that have played for Kerry. So look, this is not going to be an easy game. But high school have a huge opportunity in doing something. I suppose getting to a final would be huge. And I suppose like the high school was the first ever school team to win the Corrie 98 years ago. And like this team are quite capable of going a long, long way in this competition. And this would be a huge statement really for Tipperary football as well if the high school can get to this final. There's a lot of exciting players. You've got Luke Foley, Brian Morrison, and you've Conor Franey. There's a lot of good players. Mike McGuire. You have Killian Smith there from Commercials. There's a lot of good players there, and I think this be a huge boost for Tipperary football if the high school can get to a Munster final. Yeah,
it would be unbelievable. We wish them the very best luck. We'll have live updates from that game 12:30 tomorrow in Kilmallock. Was originally fixed for Mallow. That's moved to Kilmallock 12:30 tomorrow. Also, David, you're involved with the Sigerson Cup, the UL Sigerson Cup team. And speaking with Niall Fitzgerald earlier on the show, it's maybe not as much of a problem. It's probably more of a problem this year than it has been in past years, let's say, for Tipperary managers, because there is a lot of involvement with Tipperary players in the Sigerson Cup this year.
Yeah, there's 7 Tip lads involved with the UL out of 35, which first of all is a huge achievement, because the standard in UL is very high. You're playing with 7-8 county seniors from Mayo. You have 2 or 3 Cork seniors. You have 3 or 4 Kerry seniors, and So it's a massive achievement. And I can tell you, it's not just because the Tipperary man is managing the lead, or the 7 of them really deserve it. And Charlie King is obviously starting the whole time, and he's been outstanding. Hogan's been coming on. Jack O'Neill, Killian Butler, Paddy O'Keefe have all been getting game time throughout the league. So it's been a huge, and they'll only get better from this experience as well.
Yeah.
And so look, we've a quarter final next Wednesday night against Maynooth in UL, and look, we had a great win up in DCU, but as I said there last Monday night when we met, there's no point in doing that if we go out and lose next Wednesday. So we have to keep the feet on the ground. Look, we won the league there before Christmas. It's the first time UL have ever won that, and we have a good team, and hopefully we can do the business next Wednesday, but it certainly won't be easy.
Yeah, well, you've a busy week ahead, David. We wish you the very best of luck, particularly over the weekend, and of course with UL next week as well. But thanks for talking to us on the show.
Thanks very much, Paul.
Now, before we get to Greyhound racing, just running down through some of the other things that are happening around the Premier County this weekend. Of course, in the world of rugby, Brian Gleeson and Diarmuid Barron both named on the Ireland 15 squad for a game against England in early February, but they're both also playing for Munster tonight against the Dragons at 7:45 below in Cork, and it is Diarmuid Barron captaining Munster tonight as well, so the very best of luck to Munster, and particularly to the two Tipperary lads involved. In terms of AIL, on Saturday we have Division 1A leaders Clontarf against Nina Ormond, so difficult away trip for Nina Ormond tomorrow. In Division 2A, Cashel go in search of what would be their third win of the season. They welcome Galway Corinthians to Spafield, and in Division 2C, Clonmel, who are second in the Division 2C table, they are away to Bruff. All three of those games underway at 2:30 tomorrow. Elsewhere this weekend, we also have soccer on Sunday. Plenty of action around the Premier County. A lot of Tipperary Cup, or a lot of Cup games around, but also some league games too in the TSDL Premier League. Local derby at 11 a.m. on Sunday. Tumal Burris hosting Peak Villa. Whilst at the same time, Clonmel Celtic travel to Kerr Park. Then at 2 p.m. on Sunday, St Michael's are away to Cullen Latin. Meanwhile, in a day of in the NTNDL Premier Division on Sunday then as well, of course, Ard Croney are hosting Arrow Rovers, so big game there at 11 a.m. on Sunday morning in the NTNDL. But now, as always, on a Friday evening here on Across the Line, it's time to talk dogs with Barry Drake.
Tipp FM's Greyhound News Update with Greyhound Racing Ireland, your Christmas party destination across the nation.
There's plenty of top-class racing action to look forward to over the course of the weekend, with all eyes on the racing action down at the Clonmel Greyhound Stadium tonight, where the first will go at the traps at 7:30. The feature races on tonight's racing programme are the Royal Kennels Open Unrace Stakes semi-finals, of course, with €6,500 to the winner, an event that's kindly sponsored by Helen O'Dwyer, and it has produced some excellent racing over the course of the last couple of weeks. In terms of predicting winners for tonight's semi-finals, in terms of the opening semi-final, trainer Adam Dunford looks to have another real exciting prospect in his hands, because Jack Tavern Alf runs in trap number 4 and going on its back-to-back winning performances the last twice, of course, 28.60 on debut and following up with a 28.35 winning run last time. The December son of Pastana looks like it'll take a great deal of stopping. Also in the race, of course, trap number 5, Vivaro Warrior for Ken Bustee down in Cork. That was a wide margin winner last time in 28.46 and is another with a big future. In terms of the second semi-final, all eyes will be on trap number 2, Newen Spot, for Golden-based champion trainer Graham Holland, of course, owned by Kenny Glenn. Set the standard when winning in 28.42 last time and looks sure to go very close. Although keep an eye on trap number 1, Gay Time Clyde, also trained by Graham Holland. That went into plenty of notebooks last time out, of course, when finishing second from a tricky enough draw that's won by Brendan O'Connell down in Cork. So there, the two semi-finals tonight, of course, always a fabulous competition, and expecting a big crowd there in Clonmel tonight. We also have the Jerpats Kennels D2, D4 790 stakes semi-final. We have the Tommy and Bridget Mary Dunford Memorial Bitch Stake with €2,000 to the winner. Bush Park Mel will take plenty of beating from trap number 1 in race number 5, turned over by Lone Calling, who's trained by Michael O'Donovan in Tipperary Town last time, and that reopposes. But as I said, it really is a night of top-class racing action at the local Clonmel Greyhound Stadium tonight. You also have the Sporting Press online edition A1, A2, 550, a couple of good races down for decision in that event also. It's a night not to be missed. As I said, first race due off there in Clonmel at 7:30 tonight. Now switching our attentions to Thurles Greyhound Stadium. Of course, over the course of the weekend, their racing programme, of course, down for decision there on Saturday. Some nice races to look forward to in Thurles there. And in terms of predicting winner or two, well, we're going to the third race, and this is an A7, A8 contest, and a one that caught my eye last time, of course, trap number 6, Montreux Goosey, who looks like it's capable of getting the job done at this sort of level. This one is owned and trained by James Tracy and Ross Gray. It's yet to win in 12 career starts, but tomorrow could be the day there for that greyhound. Elsewhere on the card, moving down through the races, of course, and on to race number 7, which is an interesting contest here. A couple that ran well last time out, of course. Once again, it's an A7, A8 contest. Trap number 3, Cabra Naila, who finished second last time. A reproduction of that could be good enough to see it return to winning ways. So that's the Thurles Greyhound Stadium with their racing programme down for decision there on Saturday. And good competitive racing, as you would expect in Thurles. And of course, the first due off there in Thurles at 11:04. So just note that it's an 11:04 a.m. start there, of course, in Thurles there on Saturday. Elsewhere this weekend, switching our attentions back to the Clonmel Racecourse on Sunday night. Of course, they have their usual Sunday night racing programme down for decision. The first of the night there, due off at the usual time of 6:04. A couple to keep an eye on in Clonmel, of course. You have the Talbot Hotel A4 Guys and Dolls Stake, of course, taking place there. And in the fourth race, of course, which is the opening semi-final, trap number 3, Happy Days Sid, has got a good chance here for William O'Connor of Thurles. That was a nice winner in 29:48 last time. And following up on that could be the one that they all have to beat. Of course, consistent tracker. It's won 14 times in the past. In terms of the second semi-final, the likes of Slaney-side Layla and Dawn Court Millie are two to keep an eye on, but we're going to take a chance with the Slaney-side runner for the kennel of Derek Keogh in Thurles. So it is a busy weekend with plenty of good racing action to look forward to all around the country. But as I said earlier, of course, all eyes on Clonmel Greyhound Stadium over the course of the next 2 weeks. Big racing down for decision, and very much looking forward to it.
And many thanks, as always, to Barry Drake for giving us a comprehensive rundown on what's happening in the world of greyhound racing, both here in Tipperary and further afield as well. That's just about all we got time for this week's edition of the show. A reminder, 2 live games on Tipp FM this weekend. Of course, Tipp against Galway tomorrow, 7 o'clock in FBD Semple Stadium. That's live here with thanks to Casey Tiles and Wooden Floors in Care. Then on Sunday, we'll have full live commentary over in London in McGovern Park as the Tipperary senior footballers begin their league campaign against London. And our coverage of that game is with thanks to John Kennedy Motors in Clonmel. And a quick reminder as well, we will have updates from the high school Clonmel's Kearney-Vurry semi-final. That's tomorrow, Saturday at 12:30. They're taking on Presentation Milltown. We'll have live updates from that game throughout the afternoon tomorrow here on Tipp FM. So it's a busy weekend of sport to come here in Tipperary. Really looking forward to it. I'll be down in Thurles tomorrow. I'll be back on air for that game. So until then, have a good Friday evening, and it's for this week's edition of Across the Line. It's bye for now.